All right. So this past Saturday wasn't quite the results Orange County fans were hoping for when they made their way out to Championship Soccer Stadium for the Western Conference Finals. Unfortunately, their season ended, I guess, a little frustratingly. And yeah, so I know Dylan and I got some stuff to talk about with that. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
From the Champion Soccer Stadium, first time into the box, it's a great ball, and Wilson! Oh, it's a world-class goal from Orange County. Chaplow will go off the deflection, and it finds its way in. Selmo shooting from the corner, and put it in! And there'll be no second opportunity as Andre Rawls shuts it down. This ball finds the top left corner, and Orange County has struck again. Past Hashimoto, set for shooting, scoring! Escalante sits on it, and Rawls somehow was ready. And A-Bike over the top, headed down, it's in! Orange County equalizes. What a debut, not only for the stadium, but for Sola Avalachi.
Are you ready, Orange County? This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast and on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast. How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samore, and I'm with you each and every episode as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. And joining me as he does each and every episode, we've got Dylan from County Line Coalition. Dylan, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Had the day off from class, so that was a nice little change for me.
So I take it having the day off from class, that probably threw your schedule off a little bit there then.
Yeah, and I'm out of town this weekend for the first time in since March, I guess. So that threw it off too. Kind of forgot what was going on.
Are you out of town right now, or are you heading out of town?
I am heading out of town tomorrow afternoon.
Well, awesome. Anywhere particular you're heading to?
I am going to Los Coyotes, which is a Native American reservation. I think about an hour and a half outside of San Diego.
I've never heard of it, but I'm sure you'll be ready to have some fun out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna run around in circles and get nice and dirty.
Well, there you go. And I guess it's a good way to sort of, relax after the frustrating weekend this past weekend that saw Orange County fall to Phoenix Rising. And we were there for that. So, I mean, I know we all sort of know what was happening there. I don't know if you've even gotten over it yet, Dylan. I still am struggling with it, knowing that there's not going to be any more actual important Orange County Soccer Club matches for at least a few months now. So,
yeah, I don't know if I'm over it so much as I just I don't care anymore about the season. I don't care about the result tomorrow night, or I guess since this is releasing Thursday morning, I don't really care about the result tonight. Who cares? I mean, I guess people who live in Phoenix and people who live in Louisville care. But my team's out, and I'm not gonna throw my support behind either one of them. So
totally get it.
We'll get there.
Totally understand. But yeah, it's frustrating with what happened with all of that, and it's frustrating. I guess I know people were talking about should we watch the match or should we get together to watch the match, but for us out here in California, it's pretty difficult because the match is starting at 5 o'clock. I mean, that's when most of us are leaving work, and we're getting ready to sit in like an hour of traffic. I don't think anyone is dying to get out of work early to watch the U.S. final between Louisville City and Phoenix Rising. But if anyone is doing that, feel free to do that. I mean, it sounds like
you
definitely. So
I should
let
say I'm
me
gonna try not to be too much of a defeatist this episode. I mean, it really hurt Saturday losing at home, and I think all of us were, I mean, deservedly really proud of the club and its players and the staff and everything that they put together this year. Um, but God, it hurts. I mean, it's it's really difficult to balance that pride that I have in the way that the club really turned around this year and everything that they set up for this year and the years to come. Just having to watch Orange County trail for 80, I guess the entire game actually. So it hurts.
Yeah, no, definitely. So before we get too far into the disappointment of the weekend, let's talk about some good news. Let's start off with some good news with this, and the good news that we'll discuss to start off is some postseason awards that have either been announced or that we're looking at potential Orange County players that are going to be potentially winning some awards. So the first thing is the USL. I guess what is it called, the first team or all first team or whatever they call it in the USL. There was actually 2 Orange County players that made it onto that list. I think the 2 players that made it, it's no surprise, at least for Orange County fans that are familiar with the season and how things have been going for Orange County. So you had Thomas Enevolton on that list, and you also had Aiden Quinn, who, I mean, both, I guess, have a legitimate claim for MVP for the team on the season. What are your thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah. I mean, Enevolton, you can't argue with somebody who scores, what, 21 goals over the course of the regular season, and then you can't argue against Quinn either. I mean, I think he led the entire USL in passes. I think he was second in chances created. I mean, he was instrumental to the way that we played, and I think he played almost every minute of every game, if not every minute of every game, and dictated how we played. I know early this season I compared him to Andres Perlo for Orange County, and I'm sticking by that assessment of him. It's the way that he plays and the effect that it had on the club was almost immeasurable. Despite the fact that all those stats are there, he had 2,431 total passes. 1,800 of those, almost 1,900 of those were successful. He averaged 65.8 passes per game. So it's, my God, his effect on this team is probably the biggest thing that we had, and that's not to discount anything that Enevolton did either. He had a massive effect, and he kept us going. I'd say through that middle section of the season, really from the beginning to that middle section, he was there, and he was that guy that was earning us 3 points, seemingly almost every Saturday night.
And I think when you have 2 players that are pretty, I guess, equal, when you look at like stat numbers around the league and what they've done throughout the year, I think you always have to, at least in soccer, lean towards the midfield player, because really that player is, especially a player like Aiden Quinn, he's all over the field. He's helping back out on defense. He's helping transition that ball up into the offensive side, and then he's setting up his teammates on offense. So, some of those things that you do as a midfielder don't always quite show up on stats. That's one of the reasons why it's always sort of hard to judge defenders, for their performances, because what really can you look up except for balls won, and did you not get any kind of cards or penalties or anything like that?
It's a lot like duels and then shots blocked, and that's not, I think, clearances.
And that's not the stats that people pay attention to.
No, and it's, people don't go to stadiums to watch people play defense. I mean, that's why I don't watch Man United games anymore. It's boring. It's not exciting. So that's why we saw an all-league team that had Enevolton and Lancaster and Rios and Ledesma and Quinn and Asante and Anunga. Like, this formation would never work in practicality, but these guys score goals they provide assists. So
True.
that's why we see them up there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's always the thing is offense gets the chicks, defense wins the titles, or however people want to throw that analogy around. I know I totally butchered an analogy like I always do there, but
I can't even try and figure out what that was.
But I mean, you get the idea of what I'm saying on there, right?
Yeah. I hope everyone else does too.
I know listening to the guys over on the USL show, they had made the conclusion, or they actually had noticed it. I didn't even quite notice it at first because I was only looking for the Orange County players, but they made I guess they called it out that there was only 3 Western Conference players on that list. And out of those 3, 2 of them are Orange County. One of them was Asante from Phoenix. So I don't know if there's maybe East Coast bias, one of those things you always talk about in sports. There's always an East Coast bias because people that live out in the East Coast aren't staying up till, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night to watch our matches.
Oh yeah, I mean, by the time that I'm getting from the stadium, it's 1 a.m. in New York, or in Tampa, because the league's based in Florida. So I get why it's difficult to include teams when the country's 3,000 miles wide, but I also think the quality of some of the players included on that list doesn't line up with the quality of how the conference was actually allowed or aligned.
So some other news or postseason awards potentially that Orange County may see is I think MVP. The two aforementioned the two players we've been talking about there, Aiden Quinn and Thomas Volton, are both in the running for that. A little scary, I guess, if you're hoping for an Orange County win in that category, because they're probably going to pull votes away from each other. And by the way, I have no idea how the voting works. I know when you were on as a guest on that other podcast a few weeks ago, you guys were trying to figure out how it all works, and I don't think anyone really knows. I know there's some different, I guess, algorithms or whatever they do for stuff like this. So
they pull names out of a magic hat, like Harry Potter, and then they just all right, screw it, good enough. That's what it is.
Hey, there you go.
It's probably I imagine it's probably really arbitrary.
I mean, but the fact that you have 2 Orange County players on there for potential MVP for the league, it's a good sign for the club, especially knowing that one of those players has been signed to be back for next season. So way to go, Orange County, for that. And oh, by the way, also Coach of the Year nominee Braden Cloutier is one of the options. And I just realized, listening to the USL show, I believe it was that I've been pronouncing his last name wrong all season. I think from it was, I think Mike, is it Mike Watts or Michael Watts, who was on the broadcast? He was corrected on it as well, and he basically got clarification on how you say it, and it's actually Cloutier. Is the way I believe he was told to pronounce it. So I've been saying
is saying it wrong too.
I've been saying I've been saying Cloutier all season, so who knows. But I mean, that's I think I think going into the postseason awards, that was probably a given that he would be one of the nominees for Coach of the Year, being that Orange County missed the playoffs last season, and then this season finished first in the West. I mean, that's a pretty obvious choice for one of the nominees for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and really, I mean, he's got some help in the backroom staff and the staff that he brought on under him to change the style of play for Orange County and to be a lot more expansive and attacking and exciting. And so, I mean, I call me a homer, but I think he deserves it over Coke from Cincinnati. Or I'm trying to think of who the other was. Was Chance the other option? I don't exactly remember.
I don't have the list in front of me, and I do not feel like going in and looking it up.
If it's somewhere close.
What are the odds that the USL gives the award to the FC Cincinnati, or any of these awards to an FC Cincinnati player? I know the fans in Cincinnati would probably jump on the conspiracy theories that it was only because they're leaving the league and whatnot, but I just don't see that being possible or being an option on there. So.
Oh, I'm sure they'll I mean, there's nothing. I love to talk trash on that team and its fans because they are insufferable. And I am so glad they are leaving to the MLS. But what they did over 34 games is really, really impressive and really, really hard to do. And there's no doubt Ledesma is an amazing player. And if it came down to the MVP, for me, I would have a really hard time picking in between Ledesma and Quinn. And I'd pretty much only end up giving it to Quinn because of the fact that he pretty much single-handedly controls it. And without him, I think there would have been a big piece missing had we lost him to injury or to suspension this season.
Well, I mean, the fact that he was, the in every single minute of every single game this season for Orange County. I mean, that's a big accomplishment for any sport, and especially, you got a sport like soccer where, I mean, it's not that difficult to get an injury, especially on your ankle, your knee, your, pull a muscle.
So, a star player of a team and a star creative player at that. Someone's going to be, the Vegases of the league are going to be going after you. But I looked it up, and he only missed 7 minutes of this entire season. So I believe that makes Enevoldsen the only Orange County player to play every minute.
Okay.
Games all season long.
I wasn't even paying attention on this. So Aiden Quinn did actually miss a few minutes there, but to have 2 Ironmen on your team basically throughout the whole season,
and have them be the most prolific as well,
yes,
is huge.
No, definitely. So, I mean, as of now, we don't know the winners of those individual awards, but the fact that we got the 2 players on the first team, great accomplishment for the club. We've seen them, I mean, that's good. That's good. And it's good knowing, like we said, Aiden Quinn's going to be back next season. So one of the top players in the league is definitely going to be on Orange County next year. And I'm sure we'll see improvement from, Michael Seaton. And from what I'm hearing from the club, there's going to be more announcements, roster announcements in the coming weeks. So definitely something that Dylan and I will actually be able to discuss. Now that there's no actual soccer in the field, there's actually still some news that we'll be able to discuss with you guys. Oh, and by the way, we're going to, over the next few weeks, we're going to do some season recaps and let you guys know who won the Orange and Black Soccer Cast Awards, which we had you guys vote on about a month back. So definitely still some good soccer to discuss, or at least Orange County news.
All those people drive in and listening with one earbud at work, we got you covered for a few more weeks.
Oh, and I'm not gonna. I don't want to. Jump ahead of myself, but I'm working on a few other things to potentially do during the off season that we can still torture your ears for a few times throughout the off season, and more to come as we get confirmations on exactly how that's going to go. Dylan doesn't even know what I'm working on.
Yeah, it's nice to me. I'm excited.
So once I can confirm anything, we'll definitely go on. Oh, and by the way, for those of you that don't follow or weren't even yet aware, we do have an esports team that's in the early stages of their season, and they're already one of the top teams. For a first year esports team, they're already one of the top teams in their league. There was some power rankings released recently, and I think they were in the top. I think they were number 2 on the power rankings for their league. So those guys are doing pretty well. So maybe what we'll have to do is Dylan and I will have to jump on some of those streams, watch some of those matches, and we can even discuss some of that, what we're seeing from the virtual soccer players that represent Orange County Soccer Club. And who knows, maybe they'll be able to go all the way. And well, I was just, and I was reaching out to the man, the gentleman that runs that team. It's Mike Culp. He's the captain / manager, whatever else you want to call him. He's the one that basically handpicked or, held the tryouts and picked all the players that are on the roster. And I reached out to him, and we're going to work on maybe seeing if we can get some of them to come on to our podcast, maybe a couple times throughout this off season, while they're in the mix of whatever it's called of their season, and go from there. So, all right. So we have to get to it. We have to discuss a little bit here, this wonderful match, this past, or not wonderful match. It was let's say it was actually a pretty good match, as far as just entertaining, nail biting, on the edge of your seats. Unfortunately, like we talked about earlier, Orange County didn't do enough to get through and win the match, but it was still a good match. Orange County won, Phoenix Rising 2. Dylan, just in your, like we always do, maybe just a brief thought on the match, and then we'll dig into a little bit deeper. What were your thoughts at the end of that match?
Oh man, it was really, really frustrating. If you saw me or heard me at the game, you know that I was very, very frustrated for the entirety of that match. From our defense not playing the first 2 minutes, and then us trailing because of that, and having to play catch up because of that. Not to mention the Drogba theatrics from the second minute on to the I'm Solomon Asante, I'm 5'2", and still somehow managing to fall over. I could go on and on about what pissed me off in this game, and defensive errors, and I could go on and on with negatives. But I feel like I should focus on the positives, and I think we saw a team that really tried and didn't. I think a lot of times when you go down early, it's really easy to just say, "That's it." Like, we're already beat. Let's see out these remaining minutes, and let's whatever. Who cares? And we didn't see that from the club. We saw a lot of trying, and it's just difficult to score on a team that packs 10 guys into the box to play defense, especially with the way Orange County plays, trying to score in the box almost all the time, and trying for that cross against tall center backs or Drogba, who happens to track back to head those balls out. It's difficult to do, but I got to give the players props for still getting after it and still really, really trying. They kept it exciting. They kept it interesting.
Well,
Breaking to go down at the end.
Well, I mean, honestly, like you sort of talked about it, is that opening goal for Phoenix? That just sort of, I think, it was probably the worst case scenario for the first 2-3 minutes of the match, as far as what Orange County was planning to come out there. That opening goal in the second minute basically just probably threw Orange County's game plan out the window at that point, because it's not something I don't think it's not something you plan for. And credit to Phoenix. I forgot exactly who it is that scored that goal. Was it Cortez that scored that goal, Dylan? Do you remember?
It was.
It was.
He always haunts us.
Well, and I mean, again, I'm going to go back. I can't remember. I think it was actually the Rising as One podcast. I was listening to them for a little bit today, or yesterday, and they even mentioned that goal was just a class goal. It wasn't the type of shot they mentioned. I think I'm not quoting correctly, but they were basically mentioning that it's not a shot that any goalkeeper prepares as their first shot they have to attempt to save in a match. A strike from outside the box into the upper corner. Andre Rolls, wasn't quite in the greatest position.
About that. And honestly, he wasn't even the one that was the most out of position for that.
No. It was a great shot from outside the box into the upper corner. There's nothing really that Andre Rolls could do in that. And it was, if you watch, I went through and watched that particular replay again today. If you just watch it, just how quickly that built up from when Phoenix got the ball from Orange County, it just was a quick build up to that. There was nothing, and nothing against the defense on that particular play as much either. There wasn't really nothing that could be done there. Again, you don't expect that as the first shot from a team in the second minute of the Western Conference Final. You're coming in there, you're expecting the first 10-15 minutes to be that testing the other team out, seeing what they're going to give, what they're going to take, and all that stuff. So but go ahead.
I gotta disagree with you there.
Okay.
Seaton was really, really trying to get that ball back from I don't even know who passed it, but really.
I think Lambert. I think Drogba got a touch on it. Lambert got a touch on it, and then it got to Cortez.
Yeah, I think it was Drogba to Lambert, and then obviously Lambert through to Cortez. And it has, if Crognoli doesn't rush out to try and intercept this pass, which he's never going to intercept a flick on, then it's not Yosh trying to close from the wrong side of the box, and it's not Alston on the wrong side of Cortez trying to shut off a shot. If Alston tries to stop that shot there, he most likely gets Cortez, probably gets a red in the second minute, and Phoenix gets the penalty. Drogba is probably going to score. how many penalties has he taken in his career? How many has he scored? Man, that's not MLS quality.
It was a tough thing there. And we'll get into Cronulla a little bit because I know
I wasn't gonna be negative, and I wasn't gonna call out players, but I already failed at that.
Well, and when you go look at the second goal, I think as the play was building up to the second goal, I think both me and you were like yelling out, "What are you doing, Cronulla?" or "What's going on?" or something like that.
Words for him. Some very choice words for him.
Did I don't even remember what my choice words would have been there.
Yes. We can't repeat them on the podcast, but they
Okay.
were said, and I very much for the last month I think have been echoing them. So, ouch.
But well, let's do this because you had brought up the I guess the frustration of how easy the Phoenix players were going down a little bit. That's actually something I discussed a little bit with Aidan Quinn after the match. I'm going to play the full clip that I have here, but he's going to talk a little. I mean, he doesn't get into it that much, but he does mention that he noticed that during the match. This is what Aidan Quinn had to say when I got a chance to speak with him after the match. All right, with Aidan Quinn here, one goal short of getting to that championship match. What's going on in your head at the moment?
Yeah, it's disappointing. The goals we gave up are kind of fluky. Ours is also kind of fluky, so it's tough to swallow right now. But Phoenix is a great team, great fan base, so credit to them. I thought we still had a great year, so it's disappointing right now. But when we reflect on it, I think we'll be really happy with what we did, and hopefully next year we can go one step further.
So throughout the match, I think the fans could see you guys were touching the players on Phoenix, and they were going down rather easily. Was that getting a little frustrating out there for the players or for you guys? Or
yeah, I mean it's a gamesmanship. So obviously Phoenix is up early, so they're trying to run the clock out. They're trying to get fouls, move their field up, or move the field position up. So it's credit to them. They're good at it. We just have to play and we have to get on with it. And we did pretty well. I don't think we overreacted at all. We just kept playing, we just kept fighting, and we tried to claw ourselves back into the game.
So we know, a few weeks ago it was announced that you signed an extension with the club. What does that mean for you, for the club, for the future of this team, and what should fans expect out of you guys in the years to come?
Yeah, hopefully the next few years are like this one, but maybe better. I'm really happy to have signed. This club has treated me so well this whole year, so it was a no-brainer because the way they treat me, I just want to give them what they give me. So I'm trying to give back what I can.
Awesome, Aidan.
All right, so that was Aidan Quinn at the end of the match. A little bit of mixed audio in the background there. You got a little bit of County Line Coalition doing a little chant there. And then towards the end, of course, you can hear the banging of the drums from the Phoenix faithful that made it out to the match. And we'll get into those guys in a little bit there. So the second goal that Phoenix scored, we started getting into it a little bit. A couple things that jump out of my mind is our defense just was, I guess.
Let's call out Cronulla again. I mean, that rebound comes off the first ball, and then he doesn't press at any point. I mean, Yosh gets after it, and Andre comes out, and it lies to Drogba, and Cronulla is 5 steps back from him, and standing there and watching the play unfold in front of them, and then Drogba takes his first hit, gets deflected back to him, and then at this point, Cronulla has come out to try and stop it, and of course, obviously Drogba just taps it through. Yosh did what he was supposed to there. Andre did what he was supposed to there. Andre was unlucky to get that deflection, but the defense just kind of sat back and were content to watch. And I get you push and you push and you push, and you've been pushing for 70 minutes, and you're tired, but you got 20 more to go, and that was the goal that ultimately killed the season. And you can't be doing that in the playoffs. I mean, it's so obvious, but
so after the match, I don't know if it was that night or the next day, I was speaking with my wife, and her take on that sort of run up of events there that happened there is she sort of questioned the lack of, I guess I don't want to use the wrong word here. She noticed, and I didn't notice this, so this is something that I'm just going off of what she was telling me is Andre Rawls, he made the initial save or block or whatever deflected off of him, and she said that she didn't feel like he got up quick enough to get back into position to try and stop that second goal. Again, this is not something that I noticed in the moment, and I actually didn't go back and watch that second goal at all since the game. I just couldn't get myself to go any further. But that was just her observation. I don't know if anyone listening noticed that as well. But you know, it was just it's just one of those things. It just seemed like there was a bunch of stuff that went wrong in that moment, and unfortunately, it put Orange County in too deep of a hole to get out of. Because as we know, they did go and score one goal shortly after that. It'd have been nice if that would have equalized and given Orange County an opportunity to fight on a little bit more. But unfortunately, we'd given up that second goal in sort of a sloppy defensive effort. Like you said, it wasn't all the players, but it was just sort of there was a player that sort of was the most frustrating out of those players. But all that added together just sort of ended in a yes.
In a very disappointing end. Yeah, Rawls had an awkward time getting up between that collision with Yosh and whoever the Phoenix player was. I know he turned when he was getting up, he turned towards goal because he had no other option. He couldn't turn back towards the play because there are bodies in front of him. So he gets there, gets back in time, and then gets kind of stuck in no man's land. He's still in the 6, but there's no one in between him and, at the time, one of the best strikers in the world. So he's kind of hung out to dry, really, by that whole situation.
And oh no, yeah.
Sums up the end of that play.
Yes, and again, it was a little disappointing, the outcome of that. Really quick before we move on, I did speak to Andre at the end of the match, just sort of ask him, how things went, or how he was, I guess, feeling at the end of the match. I could see just sort of visually from when I was speaking with him, you could tell that, I guess I think all the players we spoke with, they weren't probably in their best of moods. So let me just say thank you to the players for still being willing to talk to us. There was a bunch going on. They had just lost the match. There was a commotion going on the pitch with all the Phoenix traveling fans and the players, and they were getting all rowdy and chanting and being loud and noisy. So big slap in the face to the players, but they were still willing to speak with Dylan and myself. And this was Andre Rawls after the match and what he had to say.
Over here, go for it. All right, so I'm here with Andre Rawls. Andre, we just witnessed something probably not the funnest scene to watch out there on the pitch. I guess the championship, Western Conference Champion Trophy. Yeah. What are your thoughts? What's going on in your mind right now?
It hurts, man. It hurts. I mean, especially to see another team lift the trophy on your own field. But I mean, I can't help but be proud of what this team's done this year. I mean, we were from the beginning, nobody really believed in us, and I mean, we took that and we used it as motivation. We came out to work every day, every training session, every game, and I mean, I'm nothing but proud for all the teammates, all the staff, everybody here.
All right, so that was Andre after the match, and I just got to say this. James Keston, front office in Orange County, do whatever you can do to bring that guy back next season. I think he's probably one of the fan favorites out there just because of how interactive he's been with the fans all season, and really he's just a great guy to have on your team. I think he gave up the 2 goals. Again, not all his fault on these. I mean, really not his fault on the first one. That was just an amazing goal. But I don't know about you, Dylan, but I'd love to see him back in the black, orange, and white next season.
I feel the same way. He's one of he and Charlie Lyon are, from last year, probably the best goalkeepers that we've had. And that's no disrespect to Josh Cohen or Brandon Miller or to anyone who played there before, or even to Casey Byers, who has been a great backup for us and come in when he needed. But I would absolutely love to see Andre up. I know his contract is up with New York this winter, so we might see a situation like we saw with Walker Hume last year, where put on loan and then
no one wants to sign him. Or I mean, no MLS team.
That people are going to want to sign him, even as an MLS team. I imagine he would make probably a good third choice. But
if he wants to play,
yeah, and I think at this point he's probably going to want to start playing. He's getting to the point where he's going to be starting to hit his peak as a goalkeeper.
What is he, like 26 or something? 27.
Yeah, he's 26 right now. He'll be 27 next season. I know I talked to him a little bit and talked to his parents after the match, and they said that he would love to play here. So if that opportunity arises, I think kind of similar to what we saw with Aiden Quinn, that he'll be back in the orange next year.
One, as I mentioned towards the start of the show, is we definitely are going to be hearing some announcements of roster news from the club here over the next few weeks. Hopefully, I would definitely give it 2 thumbs up if that's an announcement that the club makes, that they've been able to re-sign him and that he'll be back with the club next season. And you mentioned his parents. Props to his parents. His parents are great people. My wife and my 2 kids were out sitting on one of the benches waiting for me to finish up speaking with the players. It definitely took a little bit longer than normal because of all the craziness going on the field. And of course, we want to try and speak with as many of the players as we can, get enough information. But when I got out there, my kids and my wife started standing up, and this gentleman and this lady walk up and ask, are we leaving the bench? Can they have the seats? And of course we tell them, yes. I see they're wearing an Orange County scarf and hat. I said, hey, are you guys going to be back next season to support the team? And then they basically told me if their son's back on the team, they will be back supporting. But they were totally sweet with my boys. They were trying to talk to my boys, and I appreciate that. That's awesome to see. And I think it shows a lot to, the type of person that Andre is, because Andre's always been willing to speak with us. He was actually one of the first people I spoke with when I first was able to get some player interviews after the match, when I was at Carson for the match against LA Galaxy. He was one of the first players I got a chance to speak with. And he's been an amazing goalkeeper, an amazing player, and just a great person to have on the team. So,
yeah, a big shout out to his dad, who listens to the podcast.
Yes.
Heard you loud and clear, and I'm glad you and your son are around.
Yes, and hopefully you're around for another year or 2 with us.
Look at me, what a
mess. So let's do this. Let's get into the craziness that occurred at the end of the match. We won't get too much into it. I know there was emotions running wild on the Phoenix side, on the Orange County side. Like I said, emotions running crazy for the players. Even myself out there, just sort of being in all of that. I'm just a simple USL local team podcaster. Nothing crazy, but just sort of being in the mix of all of that. It was a pretty surreal moment. I know there's a lot of Orange County fans upset with the way things ended on that match, with the Phoenix fans basically just bombarding the field. I guess what I'll say is that was probably expected. I mean, the Orange County did try to prevent that by putting 8 or 9 staff pro security guards. I wouldn't even really call them security guards. They're just, people like you and me just to stand out there. There's nothing they would have been able to do with the Phoenix fans. I mean, when you have 500, 600, 700 fans against 10 people that are trying to block them, I mean, there's nothing you really can do in that situation. It was just craziness at the end of the match.
Yeah, it was very much kind of like lower league. Almost reminds me of on the other side of the pond, that winner or the away win in a playoff match, and then the fans invade the pitch, and doesn't matter if they're home or not, and security can't really do anything, and people are running alongside the players as they're celebrating, and they're up in the and there's I mean, thankfully there weren't any fights, but they were very, very close to being some fights.
There were.
Between some Orange County supporters and some Phoenix supporters, which is also not surprising at all, given the amount of alcohol that both sides had consumed, and just the emotions of losing to your biggest rivals on your own pitch, watching them invade the pitch. It was. I mean, I get the frustration, and thankfully there weren't any fights. And I know it was close at some points, but
it was. I actually had to help calm down a few of the Orange County fans and sort of walk them away from the situation of what was going on. I can understand the emotions and the frustration going on with those fans, especially the diehard Orange County fans. You never want to see an opponent's fan base celebrating on your field and really feeling like there's nothing that can be done on your end, and that the club isn't doing anything to stop it. But in all honesty, when you stop and think about it, there's nothing the club really could have done in that moment. What are they going to do? Call, 50 Irvine police cars out there, and then watching Irvine police maybe, have to be a little crazy. And then this is all being broadcast on ESPN Plus possibly, and there's media there. You don't want to have a negative look on that. So once it got sort of out of control, you just sort of have to let it play out. Let the fans, I guess, for Phoenix burn their energy and then go from there. But yeah, no, I understand the frustration. Deep down as a fan of Orange County, I was a little frustrated to see that. But I can almost guarantee that if the roles were reversed and there was like 500-600 Orange County fans out in Phoenix, there probably would be some attempts on our end to do something similar and run onto the pitch and celebrate with the players.
If we had gone to Phoenix and won and there were 10 of us, we would be on the pitch.
The 10 of you, yeah.
I would absolutely be on the pitch and celebrate that. And once in a while, I don't care if they're throwing shit. No, I'm not supposed to say that. I don't care if they're throwing things at me. I get supporting your club and being loyal. So it was a mess. And basically to a point, it was unavoidable.
What it does do, though, if you really think about it, it's definitely going to ignite a fire into this rivalry. As long as both teams can stay at the top of the league in the West, I can see, at least for the next year or two, as long as both teams, again, are top of the standings in the West and battling for possible, title match, I can see this rivalry growing and getting a little bit stronger. And at this point, I mean, Phoenix really has to be considered the toughest, strongest, biggest rival of Orange County for just the purposes of, I think there's all the Orange County fans are just looking forward to the moment that we can get it back on Phoenix and take them back down to earth or whatever we want to do on that. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you've got Pete Wentz and Diplo and Drogba and some dude from Phoenix and then Brandon McCarthy as your owners, you're not going to field a poor team. You've got the money to pay good players, and if you've got the product on the field, and players go there knowing that you've got a chance to make, say now that they can say, we've got a chance to make the USL Cup final every year, they're not going to mind that they're running around the desert for most of the year. That's worth it for their careers and success. So it's going to be going for, I think, a long time.
A big important thing for this offseason, though, is for because Orange County had a pretty successful season when you look at their growth year over year of like support at the matches. And even if you just look at some of the pictures from that final, yeah, I know Phoenix fans were bragging that they like had sold like half of the tickets in that stadium. I don't agree with that. I think maybe 1/3 of the tickets might have been Phoenix, and that's being generous. Definitely not. I didn't see the type of red that I was expecting to see from what I was hearing from all the Phoenix supporters on Twitter, from our friends over at the Rising as One podcast, from our friend Kevin over at the Phoenix Rising FC fan show. But we need to see some continued growth from the fans from Orange County. We need to see them continue to show up to these matches once we start up next season. And this is a big off season where even the fans themselves need to try and help recruit some new fans into this and get them excited about soccer in California. We've talked about it. It's a tough sell. I've tried, and I've brought my youth teams to matches. I've talked to my friends, some of them that I know are diehard. I've one that played soccer in England and didn't play professionally in England, but came out and played college ball out here in the States. And I can't even get them to come to the match. And I keep trying. And you don't want to be that annoying friend that always talks about come to a soccer match, come to a soccer match.
I am that friend. I'm definitely that friend.
Well, from what we learned from you at the pregame show, you have one friend. So I guess that's the one you got him to come to the game. So
100% success rate, kids.
I did convert. I got one of the kids and his dad, and from my son's youth soccer team, he was actually out. He bought the playoff package. He was at all the playoff matches. He's still debating on if he's going to do season tickets next season or if he's going to do just, maybe certain matches and come out. But he's definitely, and he was out there near the County Line Coalition. He was doing some of the chants. So props to that. Props to County Line Coalition for trying to get the fans involved. And they printed out some sheets of some of the chants, and it was definitely probably the loudest collective group of Orange County fans that I've seen at any of the matches that I've been to since I've been covering this team. So definitely a good night in that aspect. But yes. Now we're not going to get into covering or recapping the season or talking about who we think or how we think the season went in general, because we're going to save that for probably one of our next episodes. We're also going to, again, talk about the award winners, the votes that you guys, the fans, made. Like I said, we had a decent turnout on that, so we got at least some nice results there. And I'm working on a few things we can do going forward. But Dylan, let's do this. Let's just do a quick pick on the final. I'm going to split it in two. I'm going to ask you to pick who you want to win and then who you think is going to win. And if it's both, just let us know it's both.
Okay.
Who do you think or who do you want to win the match?
Orange County.
That's not possible.
Yeah, but that's what I want. I didn't say it had to be possible. So.
All right. Let's do it like this. Out of the two teams that are actually playing in it, who do you want to win?
Well, I actually haven't thought about this at all. This is how I've been processing Orange County not being here. I guess Louisville, just because I won't have to hear about it or see it, I guess. But yeah, we'll go with that.
All right. And I'm going to say I want Louisville to win just because as of right now, I don't like those Phoenix. I don't like Phoenix. And, I'm still a little bitter over the crazy interactions we had with some great Phoenix. Yeah, that's my arrogance speaking. I want Louisville to win. Now, who do we think is going to win? Is your pick different as far as your realistic, who you actually think is going to win the match, or do you still go with Louisville?
No, I actually go with Phoenix in this regard. I think Louisville's still going to be missing Cameron Lancaster, so he's crucial to their success. And legitimately, I think Drogba has enough star power with the league and the referees to where things just seem to happen in favor of, like, everyone gets starstruck, even the refs, and then those little 50-50s go the way of Phoenix. I know they're not playing at Slugger, and I know that the stadium is going to be mostly full of Louisville supporters, but I still think that they're going to have a really difficult time attacking through the 10 people that Phoenix packs into their own box to defend with.
I hate to say it, but I agree with you on it. I think as of now, the match, this is being recorded Wednesday night. The match is happening on Thursday. So we're basically discussing this less than 24 hours before the match. When you're listening to this, we're hoping to take away your attention from the final. Probably not the greatest time to release an episode talking about Orange County when there's a big match happening that night, but we don't care. But I hate to say it, but I think Phoenix does win. And I think precisely for what what Dylan was saying there. I mean, and it's going to open up conspiracy theories if they do win, because everyone's be like, oh, the league was doing it to help Drogba win. He's an owner, and that's a whole crazy thing. When I told my wife that Drogba also owns part of the team, she's like, isn't that a conflict of interest or what? But it is what it is. But
you could just solve this issue by just firing them up to the MLS.
Yeah.
Never have to hear about it again.
Well, apparently their odds got better with the whole San Diego issue. I guess the people down in San Diego don't want a new soccer stadium. They didn't vote for it. So one less metropolitan area for Phoenix to have to worry about as far as trying to beat to that MLS option.
Yeah, and all I've noticed from teams that want to go to the MLS from the USL is that their biggest talking point is always attendance. Like somehow that's the crowning achievement of a club, which is weird for a club like Phoenix and a club, I mean really all the clubs, a club like Sacramento and a club like Phoenix and a club like Cincinnati. They're some of the best teams in the league, and then the only thing that they can really say about other teams for some reason is the fact that they don't bring 20,000 and 10,000 and 5,000 people to a game each and every week. Like, if you're already up there, why don't you just talk trash on the fact that other teams don't win all their games or something?
Yeah, it's
you all suck at banter. Go to the MLS where banter isn't a thing, and you can like make weird tifo or whatever, and like use chainsaws.
Here's one thing I will say though. Yes, go ahead, Phoenix, go up to the MLS, but wait until we're able to knock you out of the playoffs next year, or we're not. Don't try and run away too soon, because if you do that, then I'm just gonna have to say you guys are scared of Orange County, because we're gonna come back and yeah, probably some words I can't see on here, so I won't finish what I'm gonna say there. Although Dylan already ruined that for us.
Sorry.
Great. Now Apple's gonna get mad if I don't mark this as explicit content.
If you're doing that, we're just gonna call out. One of these episodes is just a rated R version.
We'll have to, right? What else? Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. So we both are picking Phoenix to win. I don't know about you, but that's just, I don't want to, but I have to. That's just my gut's telling me that's what's going to happen on this match. Not much more to get into, I guess, for this episode.
We could do man of the match for the match against Phoenix.
We can. Do we want to do it where we're picking an Orange County man of the match, or are we picking man of the match either way?
Do whatever you feel is best. Let's do either way. Why not? You know what? Let's do both. Porque no los dos.
Man, you're now making me have to go and actually look up information, not something I was prepared for. Usually it's me doing that to you. So I'll let you start it off then, Dylan. That way I can just piggyback off of your picks.
Okay. My man of the match for both sides, or I mean, just overall, my man of the match is Tim Ford, the center ref. Because no one made a bigger difference in this match than Tim Ford. And that is as facetious as I can say it. He let that game get out of control for probably the entire time. Didn't seem to care about, I don't know, the laws of the game or keeping tempers low in a playoff situation, or not letting the star power and the starstruckness of everyone get in the way. And so that's why he goes to my nod as the man of the match.
All right.
Orange County, I would have to say it would be, that's a difficult one.
Oh, I thought you were picking the ref for both of them.
No, absolutely not. He didn't.
Okay.
Less, really. Say probably, in all honesty, I'm gonna have to say Darwin Jones. He was getting the ball and he was creative out on that wing, and I know not many of his crosses ended up connecting, but that's again a casualty of playing a team like Phoenix where they pack everyone into the box. But he was out there and he tried and he tried and he tried and he tried and he tried, and for a good portion of the game, that's all we could have hoped for.
All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna pick. I'm just gonna go simple for Orange County. I'm gonna pick. Who was the? I think it was Hashimoto was the goal scorer, right? So, I will just go with him just because of the fact he was able to get the ball in the goal, even though, wasn't, yeah. I guess Phoenix is MVP, I guess. I'm going to say that MVP for Phoenix would be like YouTube or soccer highlight videos of Neymar. Because really what you're seeing from Phoenix in this match, I mean, it looked like Neymar. All these players looked like they went to the Neymar school of rolling around on the ground. It would literally reminded me of that fun South African KFC commercial we discussed a few months back with the guy getting knocked to the ground. I was expecting to see Drogba start rolling out the stadium to go to Knollwoods or something and get some chicken strips or some Irish nachos or something from our friends over there at Knollwoods. But yeah, no, it was, I think part of that all played because the ref was letting him. And I'll even say this. I think the guys at Rising is one. And Phoenix people, if you are listening to me, I don't want to hear any crap from you because even your guys over at the Rising is One pod, or it was Kevin from the Phoenix Rising FC show, were saying that the Phoenix players were doing what the ref was letting them do. And part of that was the ref was letting them flop all over the field. And every time they got, poked at, they were going down the ground, rolling around like they had been ran over by Josh Hoiveld in a monster truck or something. So
yeah, I didn't even realize that Chris Cortez had actually gotten hurt because the amount of falling over, I just assumed he was trying to kill time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what all of us were because it happened like right there on the opposite side of the end line, but right where, the end of the field where we're all sitting. So
I don't remember what I said at all. But I want to say that this diving thing is so prolific that the friend that I brought to this match, and this was his second soccer game ever, sent me a text the next night saying, found this in Asante's browser history, and it's a link to WikiHow's How to Dive in Soccer. And I was like, look at this.
Ooh.
This banter from a guy who's in a second game, like he's aware of the garbage that's on the pitch. I think when Drogba phases out after this season, that'll probably be cut down a good amount. But even talking to some of the Orange County coaching staff, they were equally frustrated by that and said that way too much went on and they got away with way too much as well.
So if you still have that link, we need to maybe tweet it and tag all the Phoenix fans so we can just rile them up and ask them, is this out of their training manual or something like that? But Phoenix fans, if you're listening, shut up, don't say anything. We don't want to hear it.
I don't care.
No, we appreciate you listening to us. We're not telling you not to listen. Just don't go and try and start World War II on the Twitters.
3? You've already had 2, my friend.
Well, I'm talking. Well, okay,
60 years, 70 years ago.
I wasn't talking about literal World War. I was talking about we had our little Twitter war. Okay, we'll call it Twitter War 2, because before the match, we got into a little bit of a
tussle.
A tussle.
You got into it
with some ghost and some other people that couldn't do math because I guess they don't teach correct math in Arizona.
They don't pay their teachers, so they don't learn anything.
But yeah, I mean, with what we're talking now, they're going to come back. Oh, those arrogant Orange County fans that don't know anything. They're ignorant and arrogant.
Well-educated, for the record.
Yeah, no, go back and watch the replay. Your players were like flopping and acting like they got, like I said, they got ran over by Josh Hoiveld in a monster truck.
It's so specific.
It is.
Sunday. Josh Hoiveld.
Wait. Hold on. Oh no, I'm not.
You got something for this?
Well, no, I have.
DJ?
Let me see. Let's try this out. I'm gonna try and see if I know how to set this up. I can't even remember what I'm doing. Okay. So
everyone, in case
we're gonna do slow, but I don't know if it works with you, but we're gonna try it. So we're gonna send it to master. So go ahead and you don't even have to do your echo. Just do it, and let's see if this works out. You might not hear it back, so but if it works, it works. So go ahead and go.
This Sunday, Josh Hoiveld in a monster truck.
I don't know if it worked.
I feel so ridiculous having said. I feel like my parents are probably on the other side of the door, like, what the heck is he doing in there?
Okay, so I don't know if that worked. It probably didn't. I didn't hear it on my end, but maybe it did. And if you did the echo, so actually, if my thing worked right, it's gonna like have multiple echoes going all crazy on that. But we'll see. I'll listen back and we'll listen to that.
Let us know, everyone who's listening.
Let us know,
especially you, Andy.
By the way, Andy needs to pick a new diver besides Greg Louganis every time he wants to harass the refs for diving. I don't think anyone nowadays knows who Greg Louganis is. I don't think anyone knows any diver.
Tom Daly. He's the one I use because he's well known.
Okay. So
Gets
Andy,
all the girls going. He's that heartthrob for him or something.
there you go, Andy. Use Tom Daly instead of Greg Louganis from now on. Just because, yeah. It's not the 80s anymore. I don't know. Greg Louganis was the 90s. I don't know. Yes. So let's do this. We're going to sort of wrap things up here. As we always do, a random thought of the day or of the episode. Dylan, do you have a random thought?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just, I said as much on Twitter on Saturday night, but a big shout out to everyone who came out to the match and got behind the club, and a big shout out to all the new faces I've seen and all the new people I've met, and to the people that I've quote unquote met on Twitter and on Reddit. It's super exciting that we're growing something here. We might not be pulling 5,000 or 7,000 people to a game yet, but I have no doubt that if the team continues the way that it's been going, we'll get there one day. And it really starts with those of us who are there. And if everyone brings one or two more people, then really quickly the stadium fills out, and we've got something that we can really get behind. I give a literature recommendation because I'm now doing this every week. Philip Roth's Defender of the Faith is a great short story. Look out for themes of individualism. It's a great one. And my last thought, I've taken 3 for my one last thoughts.
Go
I
for
want
it.
a County Line Coalition / Orange and Black Soccer Cast versus OCSC front office, 11 aside, kind of like pub league match.
So here, I noticed. I know people were talking about that on Facebook. And my thought or my just sort of question on it is, where do we fall in as the podcast? I know we're not technically employees of Orange County Soccer Club.
If you're hiring someone, I've got a resume. I'm not kidding.
But yeah, no, I'd love to do that. I've already sort of said I'm interested in doing that. I'm playing at my work. I work for UCI. We have a lunch league. It's indoor soccer. We play in little one of the indoor roller hockey rinks, but they have it set up with some goals and stuff. My team were undefeated. This last week, no one even showed up to play against us, so we just did a scrimmage against ourselves. But I'm getting into shape. I'd be excited about doing that. Oh, by the way, Dylan, while you were talking, I went on to check Twitter, see what was going on, and Mr. Aaron from the Rising as One Pod and Firebird Soccer, he tweeted out, "Oh man, hashtag Orange County Hate Week might need to be extended." So apparently someone's hearing what we might have to say on that. And
can't wait for the ghost of Luke Rooney.
Yes, yay, Quebec goes or no.
Relevance like Bill Ricky Town. Where Luke Rooney now plays.
Yeah, I have no idea who Luke Rooney is, so I could care less.
He used to play for them.
Oh, okay.
And
I just thought
Luton Town. He used to play for Luton Town as well. So
I just thought it was some random dude trying to be funny, thinking that
Well, he thinks he's funny. He also thinks he's probably an IT professional, but oof.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember. Is that the guy that couldn't figure out how to search for our Wikipedia page? Is going instead to some old school Orange County Soccer Club thing. Yeah, we're gonna probably get a bunch of crap now from Phoenix fans.
Civilization, I have more important stuff to do than fail at bantering on Twitter.
But hey, Aaron, go ahead and share our link to our podcast with all of your Phoenix fans. Let them listen. We'd love to get their numbers on here and get our listens up. So that's awesome. We appreciate you doing that. And thank you, Phoenix fans, for taking the time and listening to our whole podcast.
Yeah,
so you got to the hour point and you're hearing what we have to say. And
you should always feel stupid.
No, let's not get too crazy.
We're way past that.
Yeah, we are.
Once you get me going, it's all downhill.
By the way, props to Cameron. He was just going all at it at the live broadcast. But that's just a totally different story.
That second beer. All right. What are your last thoughts, Ray?
Last thoughts, you're acting like it's supposed to be like multiple. It's usually only supposed to be one. No, what I wanted to do, and one of the reasons I actually went on to Twitter, I just wanted to double check. Wanted to give props to someone that, no one probably really knows who I'm talking about here, but I want to give props to Kelly Salmieri, I think is how you say her last name. She used to work with the club, and she's now moving on up. She's actually going to be working with LAFC. So congratulations to you, Kelly. I know talking to you, you listen to our show, and you are one of the reasons we even have a podcast for Orange County. So congratulations on the new or next chapter in your career. Yes. And hopefully great things happen for you out in LA. And I'll second what Dylan had to say. Great job for Orange County fans that did show up to the match on Saturday. Again, like I said earlier, biggest Orange County fan County Line Coalition group. And there was it's funny because I sort of walked around the stadium right towards the beginning of the match, right before the match, the kickoff, and then the first couple minutes. That's why I actually wasn't in my seat when the goal was scored, which sort of sucks. But there was this group, I wish I would have got the names, but there was this group of fans. It was like a family, basically, that were sitting right there in section 13, front row, in the middle of all those Phoenix fans. And I'm sure towards the end they weren't excited about being there because what was going on down that way, but they were holding their own there in 4 people in a group of about 500 Phoenix fans. I even at one point went over to them. I don't know if it was halftime or whatever. I said, hey, if you guys want to come over to our section and chant with us, we need, as many people out chanting with us. Oh, we'll hang out here. We're having fun. Holding our own, I guess, against these Phoenix fans. So whoever you were, random family that I didn't catch your names sitting there in section 13, way to go. You hung there for the match with a bunch of crazy people from Phoenix.
But come hang out with us.
Yeah, do it. Come by, say hi, chant with us.
I promise. I might watch my language.
Yeah, so I guess you got 2 random last things for me. Okay, so let's go ahead and end this up because we've now gone over an hour, which is typically hours usually where we like to cut things off. Like I said, keep listening to us. We're going to have more episodes over the next month or so that are going to recap the season, announce our awards. And like I said, we're working on a couple other special things that we're going to do. We're going to get our esports team to come on in the near future and discuss stuff. And maybe Dylan and I will start watching some of the Orange County Soccer Club esports team to see how they're doing and help support them on here. And I guess there's no guest for me to say to let them plug their stuff. So for Dylan, this is Ray, and for the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. And thanks for listening. We're out. Orange County, you are my team until the day I die. And when that happens, I'll still be singing way up in the sky. You are my team until the day I die. And when that happens, I'll still be singing way up in the sky. Podcasts are a great way for your business to advertise to target audiences. And the Orange and Black Soccer Cast is looking for advertisers like you. If you're interested in advertising your business on our podcast, please email us at info@orangeandblacksoccercast.com. The Orange and Black Soccer Cast has joined forces with many other soccer podcasts, many of them focusing on the USL. We're now part of the Beautiful Game Network, BGN.FM.